What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at the infamous Ryan Reynolds superhero classic Green Lantern, directed by Martin Campbell. Now, we all know the infamy of this movie, but is it as bad as people want to make it out to be? Actually, it's not. Now, this movie is not great by any means necessary, but it's not the worst thing you'll ever see in your life. It's just really basic, just really generic, and for something that bears the name Green Lantern, it's extremely disappointing. And you can tell this movie is just wasted potential. What Guardians of the Galaxy was is what the first Green Lantern movie should have been. This just zany, epic space adventure. Instead, this movie is just generic, paint by numbers, and boring, and it mostly takes place on Earth, and that's where this movie's biggest problem is. Alright, so I'm going to carefully give you my pros and my cons and try and make this review as short as I possibly can. Pros. I overall think the cast is actually quite good. Ryan Reynolds gets a lot of shit for playing Hal Jordan Green Lantern, but I actually thought he did a good performance. I thought he was fine in the role. He brought an energy to the role. It's the fact that he had a horrible script to work with that didn't appreciate his talents. I mean, Reynolds is clearly trying, and it's not his fault. You know, another actor who I enjoyed in this movie, who I thought was overall a little bit wasted, was Mark Strong as Sinestro. I like Mark Strong as an actor, and I like the foreboding presence he gave Sinestro. He always gave Sinestro a slight duplicity to it every time he talked, because we all know who Sinestro is, and we all know what becomes of him. And this movie teased of the mentorship between Jordan and Sinestro, but it didn't really play that out a lot, which is disappointing because you could have gotten so much out of Sinestro and Jordan being allies, so that way when Sinestro puts on the yellow ring at the end, it would have paid off better. Instead, this movie teases something good, but doesn't fully flesh it out, and the movie kind of drops teases that Sinestro is pretty much getting at his wits' end with the Guardians and with the Corps because of what happened with Parallax, of what is happening with Parallax and what Parallax did by killing 4 of Sinestro's Green Lantern brothers, and him now, you know, starting to look past the facade of the Corps. Like, the movie was attempting to do something like that to make it interesting, but it didn't really fully explore it, which is bad. Another thing that I like, Michael Clarke, the great Michael Clarke Duncan plays Kilowog, and he is perfect as Kilowog. It just sucks that Kilowog barely has any screen time. And this movie really gets interesting once Hal Jordan gets to Oa, and Oa is actually where the fun is, where this movie starts to have fun a little bit. But we're on Oa for all 5 minutes, and we don't really get to see Hal Jordan train. And that's pretty much where my pros stop. My pros stop once Hal Jordan gets to Oa, and we see Sinestro, we see Kilowog, we see Tom Array, we see Hal Jordan just getting snippets of training, and this movie should have been more. Instead, we don't get to Oa till like 50-something minutes into this movie. It takes a long time, and that's just horrible pacing. Horrible pacing. And spliced throughout, you get some of these action scenes. They're okay, but they're nothing spectacular. We get a scene of Abin Sur running away and fighting Parallax. It's fine for what it is, but it's nothing breathtaking. You know, we see this space battle between the Lanterns and Parallax. Again, it doesn't last long for you to get attached to anything or have any dramatic effect. Like, the one big scene that Hal Jordan has is when he creates a racetrack during an event. Lame, boring, and just, come on, man. You're the Green Lantern. Use creativity. Why are you using a Hot Wheels racetrack? That's my biggest complaint with this movie, is that it's so wasted. Not only that, it has 2 villains in this movie, and for the most part, one villain is handled fairly well. The other villain is more or less an ominous presence, but I would have liked to have known more about his character. The movie gives us some backstory of what Parallax is and how he became Parallax, but I would like to have seen more. The most developed villain in this movie is Hector Hammond, played by Peter Skarsgård. I thought he was fine in the role, though I think once he gets his big head, he looks completely freaking goofy. Yeah, he was goofy. Angela Bassett plays Amanda Waller, and Amanda Waller's a badass character. Angela Bassett's a badass actress, and this movie does not utilize Amanda Waller the way Amanda Waller is. Amanda Waller is this hard-nosed government agent. In this movie, she's just a friendly scientist, and that's not Amanda Waller. That's not Amanda Waller at all. When Abin Sur crashed onto Earth, Amanda Waller should have been her strict government agent self. Not Suicide Squad, because Suicide Squad versus Green Lantern Corps would have been completely stupid and would have made no sense at all. But Amanda Waller is this hard ass government official who wants to confiscate this alien body for government use. That's the Amanda Waller this movie should have had, and that's the Amanda Waller we did not get. Very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. Another thing I didn't care about this movie, the love interest. Carol Ferris and Hal Jordan, they're lovers in the comics. This movie, to me, Blake Lively and Reynolds, they don't really have good on-screen chemistry, and their dialogue is just so bad and so hokey, I can't buy into it whatsoever. To their credit, they're trying so hard to make it sound natural, but it just doesn't. It sounds like Spider-Man 2002 dialogue. I mean, by the time Green Lantern came out, we had just got Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. Some sophisticated superhero movies with some good dialogue, and Iron Man, of course. I mean, come on, man. Those movies should have been used for inspiration to make an exciting Green Lantern movie. Instead, you didn't even attempt to do it. Visually, I think Martin Campbell's a good director, but visually, this movie looks okay. I mean, the CGI is really distracting, and yes, the Green Lantern CGI suit looks like garbage. There is no reason why you couldn't have created an actual costume. The whole CGI thing of the Ryan Reynolds in a CGI suit is horrendous. It looks horrible on screen, and you can tell that it just looks jarring. The CGI suit looks jarring on a live-action individual. It doesn't look right at all. You could have easily made a suit similar to that of Batman or the Flash, and it would look fine. The CGI thing did not work at all. I mean, some of the CGI is okay. The CGI on Kilowog and Tamaray is fine. The makeup on Mark Strong with Sinestro is not too bad. It kind of looks like it's from the comics. So, and visually, there are some okay shots, but most of all, this movie feels rushed. And that's my big complaint. It feels rushed and it feels slow all at the same time. It feels rushed because we're rushing through things, but the pacing just feels so sluggish. And it just has to rush through the interesting stuff so we can get back to Earth for the boring stuff. Didn't like that at all. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. I'm going to give it a solid 4 out of 10. It's a movie of wasted potential. It's nothing horrible, but it is extremely forgettable. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.